What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk Talk Punch. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Brody. I'm joined by Tudong Dylan
Hey.
and the Craven of our Sinister Six.
Mm-hmm.
You're the sexy
Definitely.
one,
Yeah.
Charlie.
It's funny these. I almost wore that outfit with like the shirt and like the lion.
The fur.
Would have been a would have been a sexy outfit, but we'll keep it classy here. Keep it classy with the full
You
shirt.
would rock that outfit, Charlie.
I
You could
agree.
pull it off.
I agree.
All right, maybe
That-
for Halloween this year.
I think Dylan would probably be Dr. Octopus. I don't know who I would be.
Definitely.
Yeah,
You'd be
the
Norman Osborn.
Octodong.
Oh gosh.
8 of them now, no longer 2. Bro, you'd be Norman Osborn. You kidding? You'd be mastermind in this.
Ah, yeah.
I can see that. I can see that.
All
Yeah.
right. I'll take that. I'll take it. All right, folks. Well, while you're here, we'd love to interact with you. So make sure you comment down below. Just please be nice. And then, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening in on the audio version wherever you get your podcast, make sure you go ahead and hit the thumbs up or the star rating or whatever it is your service is using. That is going to help us out. The more that you do that, the more that algorithm is going to pick us up and recommend us to other people. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get some exposure, get some people. We got to flow into that algorithm. And then you need to subscribe. And let me tell you why you need to
Yeah.
subscribe. You need to
Mhm.
subscribe because if you don't, Dylan's going to show up at your house, that nice new air filter with the super
Oh.
small microns. He's going to take it out. He's going to put it. You might as well have no air
Oh.
filter at all. It's going to let all those
Oh.
pollutants through your house as your furnace blows it all. Oh,
Eesh. It's gonna make little noises through the night. You're gonna wonder what the noise is going on, and that's gonna be it, folks. Try to avoid it the best you can, and there's a really easy way.
it's subscribing. All you got to do is subscribe. And then after you subscribe, you can easily come back here every Wednesday to hang out with us and see what we're talking about. Kind of like this week's topic. We are going over our top 3 movies that didn't need a sequel or unnecessary sequels. I haven't figured out the title. It'll be figured out by the time I get the thumbnail. But for right now, the best description I can come up with is movies that didn't need a sequel.
That's
How'd
good.
you
That's a
guys
good way
feel
to put
about
it.
this one? This one easy?
It was fun. It was a fun list to put together. I'll walk you through kind of my methodology when I start my list, but yeah, it was entertaining and a good thought exercise.
I
Tudong,
agree.
how about you?
Yeah, I agree. It was an easy list. There's a lot of movies with a lot of unnecessary sequels. Paring it down was fun and it was easy. I enjoyed it. What about you, bro?
Yeah, I thought this one was pretty easy. I kind of made up my list and then was like, "Oh, wow, yeah, that didn't take much time at all." It's just there's my list. There it is. So apparently there's a lot of unnecessary sequels out there. According to me, these are just our
According to
opinions. These are just our opinions. Maybe you love these movies and if you do, we're sorry, but maybe it's your favorite movie. It's okay.
Wow.
It's okay to love these.
It's
Even
okay
if we
to
don't
love
like them.
things. That's true. Even if we don't, it's
Yeah.
okay to love things. Bro, what's the order are we gonna go in?
Okay, so the order is going to be Charlie, and then Tudong, the number 2
Number
position,
2.
then myself. So
Nice.
let's go ahead and start it up. Charlie, what's your number?
Okay, so before I get into my list, the way I kind of pared this down was I started thinking through movies where I not just that didn't just have bad sequels, right? It was like, oh, that was a bad sequel, but movies where like the sequel did something that kind of lessened, or I don't want to say ruined because that's too strong a word, but like did something to tarnish the ending of the original movie. Uh, and am I frozen?
No.
Okay,
Really?
Oh, you're good.
okay, great. Uh, I look frozen in my monitor picture.
I
You
look
sure?
frozen in mine too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're both
Dylan's
good.
frozen. Brody's frozen. Okay, all right, that's fun. So my number 3 is a movie that I enjoyed as a youngster. The first Young Guns was it was just a nice little indie movie. No real stars. very dramatic, a lot of like
Mm,
really
yes.
a deep plot, a lot of really good acting. Make you cry. But no, so I look. It was a fun little popcorn flick that I enjoyed as a kid. But my two favorite characters were Chavez, played by young Lou Diamond Phillips, and Doc, played
Yeah.
by young Kiefer Sutherland. I didn't really care for him, and his Billy the Kid. And so at the end, when things kind of break a certain way, and my characters not only get away, but then have a post credit like little blurb about how their life is great, and they go on and they live. And then a couple years later, there's a sequel, and then they bring them back and they kill them both in the sequel
I didn't get that. That made no sense.
because according to Emilio, they wanted to do a grittier, more historically accurate take, which of course they did not do. Maybe it was grittier. Maybe you could argue it was grittier in some way, but I don't know. Anyway, it was really upsetting to me as a kid, and it really kind of like, what was the point of the first one? What was the point of the ending? And I kept like, why is he back here? He's supposed to be in California. What's happening right now? Anyway, it was very upsetting to a young Charlie, and it's always stayed with me, and it just has lessened my affection for what should have been a wonderful childhood memory of look at that rugged Kiefer Sutherland right there in that
All
beard,
Rugged.
the
right.
great the
He
greatest
is
actor
rugged.
of a generation, uh, tarnished forever by Young Guns 2.
Wow. His whole career has been tarnished.
Whole he he
I,
he was set to have a huge career, and this torpedoed it.
Oh.
oh, wow. Wow. Here, I
Yeah.
thought Dark City torpedoed his career.
No, no, no. Oh, hey, that is a freaking great movie. Do not start with me on Dark City. That's better than The Matrix. What? You've never seen it? If you're laughing at this, it's because you never watched it.
What are you talking about? I saw it with you in the theaters.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Freaking welcome.
Charlie, is Tom Cruise, does he cameo in the first or the second Young?
The first one.
First one?
Yeah. And there's a great scene of Charlie Sheen getting shot, which, if you're
Oh,
depending
yeah.
on how you feel about him, I mean, it's a fantastic him just getting blown away randomly by a guy. I mean, it was
Yeah.
fun. The first one was fun. I did not care for the second one, even though it had Christian Slater in it.
Oh,
Eh.
yeah, it did.
All right, Tudong, what's your number 3 pick?
My number 3 pick, Brode, is, well, hey, it's Speed. It's a classic.
Ah.
It's fun. You got like I was gonna call him Johnny Utah, but no, you got Keanu Reeves, Johnny Utah. They didn't make a Point Break sequel, thankfully. They just did a stupid remake. This was I'm not going to say that this is Shakespeare. I'm not going to even really say that it was very well put together in a lot of different ways. In many ways it wasn't, but it was fun. You can forego all of the different, like, hey, is this bus really going to stay at 55 miles an hour in gridlock traffic in LA? Definitely not. That's preposterous. You could go to Middle Earth before that happens. But was it fun? Was it really great to see? Yes. Did it make sense to have like the Annie character, the Sandra Bullock character, which one of the movies that shot her up in fame? Absolutely. Did it need any kind of a sequel without Keanu Reeves? Keanu Reeves was smart enough to stay away. No, it added nothing to it. It didn't do anything for it. It progressed nothing. It just made everything worse. In fact, its little subtitle was Cruise Control, which is not something like, hey, speed, acceleration or something. No, cruise control or deceleration. It's a boat. They made something like a bus and they thought, let's make it something even bigger, go fast, or, well, it doesn't have to go too fast because it's a boat. So I say Speed did not need a sequel, especially without Keanu Reeves. If Keanu wasn't coming back, forget it. And they didn't do that. So
this would have been a great episode of Mythbusters. Like go to kind of gridlock and then just have a bus and you have to keep it at 55.
Oh my
and
gosh.
just see what happens.
It blow up in 5 minutes.
Fantastic.
There
might be some liability issues, but
it would last probably a couple seconds longer than me with a lightsaber, and then it would have blown up.
The thing with Speed 2, and I never saw Speed 2 because all I've heard is bad things, maybe there's a reason for it, but I always thought, well, but they're in the ocean. Like, why can they not just jump off the boat and let the boat just go off into the middle of the ocean until it runs out of gas and it's away from I don't know. I don't know.
You know, like I said, it didn't make a lot of sense in Speed, but it didn't matter because it was fun, it was exciting, it was
Yeah.
fast, we're going with it. And in this one, these questions come up and they don't get answered, and which makes it not fun, which makes it unnecessary, which puts it on this list.
Here you go. That's what this are for.
Well, so bro, I think it's like a yacht.
Yeah, it's a big cruise
Not a
ship.
yacht. I'm sorry, like a cruise, like with like
Okay.
lots of people. I mean, you have to get like everybody to the ledge to jump into the ocean at the same time. I don't know.
Oh,
I
is that
didn't
what
see
it is? It's like a cruise ship?
It's got a
Yeah,
rope.
it's a big cruise ship.
Yeah, that's why it's called cruise control. See, it's a double meaning. It's very clever.
Oh.
It's true. They almost had Tom Cruise
That's got
starting
a
it.
3.9 on IMDb. That's higher than I thought it would be.
That's
Really?
much higher than it should have been. Much higher.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, there's some people out there rating this above 3.9, so they
Ugh.
raise that average up.
Jeez.
And they're probably watching, so no offense.
No
Hey,
offense.
if you
Gotta be
love
good.
it, you love it. That's okay.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
good.
My number 3 is a little bit odd, and let me explain why. Because my number 3 is a sequel that didn't.
Okay.
Rushing nesting doll.
It's a
Following.
it's a
Yeah.
sequel to a sequel, actually, that didn't
should-
need another sequel. You guys guess what it is? Sequel to a sequel that did.
Dark Knight.
No.
Yeah, The Dark Knight didn't need
well,
a
I know.
sequel. Dark Knight didn't.
But it
need
wasn't
The
a
Dark
sequel
Knight
to a
Rises.
sequel. I'm talking a sequel to a sequel.
So it was like a
Well, I know that
third,
you
and then it was
thought
a
that-
fourth.
You used to say that Batman Forever was the perfect end to Tim
Oh.
Burton's Batman universe. That it
Don't
didn't
go
need
there
Batman
with
and Robin
me,
to come in and ruin it.
Charles.
You said the perfect ending to Tim Burton's vision.
I
No.
do remember hearing that. I don't know
No.
if it was sarcastic or not, but I remember hearing it.
No, my number 3 is a third. It's a number 3, and that is Toy Story 3.
Aha.
I think that Toy Story 3 was like the perfect ending to this Toy Story story.
Yeah.
We
Mhm,
had
mhm.
Andy giving away the toys on owner. It was just like such a good ending. And
It
then
really was.
they were just like, let's make a fourth. And I remember there was something inside of me that was like, but number 3 ended so perfectly. Why would you ruin this? Why would you ruin that moment with a fourth movie? And the fourth movie was okay, I guess. It was fine. For me, it really kind of diminished the ending of 3 because I knew that now there's a whole nother movie. And I was
Yeah.
and it was so like watching Toy Story 4 the entire time, I'm just like, no, like this is not good enough to like be a follow-up to the end of like at the end of 3, like made me cry. It made me feel like it brought back those like, oh, these are my toys type of feelings.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
all the stuff with like the incinerator that was super like intense. You know, like, oh, there were so many
Yeah.
levels of goodness to the end of Toy Story. And it didn't need a sequel. I'm still kind of bitter that they made a Toy Story 4 that just did not live up to the end of Toy Story. They should have just let this finish out the series. It should have been it. Should have been it. But
Should have been it.
Good points. Should have been it.
there's my number 3. Toy Story 3.
It's a good
Sequel
that's
to a
good one.
sequel. Didn't need another sequel.
All
You know
right.
they're going to do another sequel.
Probably.
Oh, I'm telling you, they're planning on it.
Well, at this point,
So it's
they've
easy.
already gone past the ending of 3. So what do I care?
That's true.
All right, Charlie. What's your number
okay,
2, brother?
I'm a little bit apprehensive about sharing my number 2 here. This
Uh-oh.
might be the most controversial one on my list.
Uh-oh.
And again, and this one is like, it's on here, and I'll explain why it's on here. And I'll just
Okay.
I'm gonna get out ahead here, and I'm not saying that the sequels that came after this movie are bad. I'm just saying that this movie didn't need a sequel at all. The more I thought about it, and it having sequels paced so soon after this movie really kind of, just show it. Let's just talk
Okay.
about it.
All
Let's
right.
just get this out in the open.
Okay.
I'm tired of hiding behind a veil of secrecy here.
Ooh, okay.
Return of the Jedi ends with like the rebels defeating the Empire. Defeating the
Yeah.
Empire, we have Darth Vader turning from bad to good. We've got this little Ewok celebration right before they cook and eat all the Ewoks for dinner, and everybody's happy. And then we get the prequels, and there's a sour taste in everybody's mouth, and then all these years later, we get word there's going to be sequels coming. We get three very uneven, different films, stories all over the place. So I'm trying to separate my feelings from how those sequels were done from just the idea that they're picking up this story where our heroes at the end of Jedi are now directly responsible for creating this horrific person. They blow up like 3 planets in Force Awakens or what? I mean, there's murdering billions and billions. It's hard. It's an unfathomable amount of like damage done
Yeah.
by Luke, Leia, and Han. It's like how can we most turn these heroes into like sad sack villains? All right, I know Luke, Han, and Leia's kid turns out to be totally evil and destroys billions of people. It's like, oh, it's like worse than Hitler's parents. It's just a whole. I mean, in terms of total, you can't make that. But you know what I mean. Terrible,
Sure.
terrible, just a real horrible human being. And then they turn him good. Like anyway, the whole thing.
Yeah,
I don't
that
want to go
was
on a Star Wars rant. I don't want to go on a Star Wars rant. But and then they make Luke like this pathetic hermit living alone, and then he eventually just dies by falling over to his left or right. I don't even remember. He just kind of falls over, and then he's gone. And just like the whole like tarnishing of like the first one, we didn't need to kill the giants of the original Star Wars series to have more Star
Yeah.
Wars. And the reason this isn't one is because I can squint my eyes and I can think if they say, hey, you know what, they defeated the Empire, but there's still pockets of evil all throughout the galaxy, and now we're going to see Luke and maybe some Jedi's or a different group of people, banding around the galaxy to combat some of this evil on some of these different star systems or planets. Cool, I'm in. Sign me up. I'm interested in that. And maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but at least it's not like saying all the heroes and people that you rooted for and spent all that time and energy invested in, and not just in 3 movies, but also all the decades that followed those movies with nothing,
Sure.
are now just a bunch of like bleh, and just toss them in the trash. And that really bothers me. So I say no sequels. They don't exist. Stop it, Jedi. Don't watch the prequels. Don't think too hard. Just watch 3 and some of the TV shows. Watch a little Mandalorian, some Obi-Wan. You're good.
Yeah,
It's a
and
soft
and
thing.
it's interesting to think like, what if we didn't have the prequels or the sequel? Got Mando like
Oh
after
wow.
this.
Huh.
Wonder what that would have been.
Would have been cool. That's what it would have been like.
Yeah. That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, and I know that we've talked about things that we've liked about the prequels like that. That episode. But yeah, it's interesting to think like what Star Wars would be if Jedi was just the last one.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. It's a
you.
interesting. It's good. It's very
It's
good.
interesting. It's an interesting thought exercise.
It is.
I apologize to everyone that loves the sequels and the prequels. Gosh, I just alienated so many different generations of Star Wars fans all in one take.
It's all right. That's all right.
They
All
blew up
right.
so many planets. That's so irritating. All right, go on.
True.
A lot of planets.
Really.
A lot of planets.
Mm.
All right, Tudong, what's your number 2?
My number 2 doesn't come from a long or beloved franchise. In fact, it's another movie that I saw in the theaters with Charlie, and that is Sin City. This is one of the things that, and first off, when I saw this is fantastic, and it's still fantastic. I think it's like a work of art. This is almost the best way of showing a comic book on screen. The adaptation is unbelievable, and he worked with the creator, like Robert Rodriguez worked with Frank Miller, who should only work with actual directors. But I mean, like, this was phenomenal. It blew my mind when I saw it in theaters, and it blows my mind every time I see it. And then the second one came out, and this is one of those that we haven't really hit upon too much of. It's one of those very late sequels where it's like 15 years later or something like that.
Yeah.
It was unnecessary. It certainly wasn't needed, and it was kind of like everybody was just like falling asleep. Like nobody was taking it seriously, and nobody was trying to actually make a work of art. I don't know what they were trying to do. They must have been, I don't know, whatever it was. But watching that, have you guys seen the sequel? Because it's the worst thing about it is that it's boring.
I started
Boring.
watching it. We started
Yeah,
watching it and we didn't even finish.
You can't, because it's boring. It's not a good movie. It's not. And when you hold it up to this movie, I'm not even saying like if this one wasn't so good, the sequel would be better, because that's just not the case. It still would be a boring, forgettable, stupid movie. And they made this for some reason with all this time, with all of the source material that they had, and then this is what they come up with. It was disappointing, and it was irritating, and it was the slap in the face of this really phenomenal movie.
I think we all saw this together.
Yeah, you know what?
I
you're
think we
right.
did, because this was before I moved.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely right. Yeah, we loved this when it came out. We saw this in theaters, and it was excellent. There wasn't a weak part about it. It was just really cool, visceral, just like the comic books. If anybody has read the comic books, and I thought it was fantastic. One of Bruce Willis's best performances.
Ah,
Just
Bruce.
Yeah, no, this is a really good.
thank you, bro. What's your number two?
All right, my number 2 is oh, I don't need to. I'm just going to show it. It's The Hangover.
Oh god.
The
Yep.
Hangover.
Mhm.
I remember when The Hangover came out, we were kind of just starting to get into some of these like rated R type of comedies where they were more adult and that. And
Mhm.
this one, I remember seeing it and thinking like, boy, a lot of that's really clever, and I really enjoyed that, and it was really funny, and and then it was such a success that of course they're gonna make a sequel, and then the sequel is really just the same movie, and but it made money, and so what happens then? They make another sequel that is the exact same, and by the time you're getting to like number 3, you're like, I've seen this joke
Hmm.
like 3 times now, guys. Like this has
Seriously.
gone too far, and I
Mhm.
remember thinking that even with the second one, I was like, these
I thought it was the first one.
I feel like these jokes have run their course.
Mhm. Mhm.
This felt fresh and funny and new when the first one came out, and it just kind of lost something when the sequels came out. And to the point where like I think of The Hangover, and now I automatically do think of it as like this trilogy. And I have
Yeah.
when I try to think about the movie, because they're all so similar, like it's all just jumbled in my mind. I can
Yeah.
think of like a couple things from the first one, but then I think of other stuff and I'm like, that might have been in one of the sequels, but I don't know. I don't know. And I really liked this when it first came out, and then it lost some of its shine when they just kept coming out with sequels. Maybe if they had only come out with one sequel and we could have been like, ah, yeah, the first one was great, the sequel wasn't great, then the third one just took it too far. So
Seriously.
that's my number 2 is The Hangover. What did you guys think of the Hangover movies? Did you guys like them at all, or
The first one had some of its charm. It was a bit derivative, but I saw what they were going for. But geez, that second one, oh, what a step down! What a step! Like they hit the gas way just at the wrong time. Charlie, what did you think of them?
I I did not see the second or the third ones just
oh,
because it
Wise, wise.
it didn't it didn't interest me. And then it's kind of one of those sequels. Oh, I guess if everyone sees it and says it's amazing, maybe I'll check it out at some point.
sure.
And that was not the reviews that were coming in. I thought the first one was funny. I remember enjoying it. It was a long time ago, bro. Don't ask me to
It
remember things.
was. I feel like people don't talk about this movie. I think this is
Yeah,
probably
the
Because of
sequel's
the
well,
sequels.
I think this is the first time that Hango's ever come up on Talk Talk Punch in near 2 years that we've been doing these. I kind
yeah.
of came upon this and I was like, oh, I've never talked about this. So there it is. The
There it
Hangover making its Talk Punch debut on,
Nice.
unfortunately, a list that is
So hard. It's so hard to believe that that baby grew up to be Aquafina.
Oh. All right,
Look it up, bro. Look it up.
Charlie, what's your number one?
So I'm realizing now as we're going through this list that I very much created an old man standing on a lawn yelling at a cloud kind of list, because these are all movies from my childhood that like got sequels, that it wasn't as good as the one from my childhood. But look, come on, I'm also kind of right because this first one, Terminator 2, was like a perfect movie. It was so good. It was so
It was
freaking good.
really great.
This is such a
And
good
it-
pick, Charlie. This is
And it
such a
blew
good
my
pick.
tiny little mind. It blew it, and it was such a good follow up to the first Terminator. What a beautiful like way to flip that first one into the second one. Genius.
Yeah.
And then they come out with this multitude of Terminator sequels that just basically tell you that everything that we've experienced in Terminator 1 and 2 meaningless, completely meaningless.
Yeah.
And did you cheer up a little bit seeing Arnold dip into the lava at the end of 2? Well, don't worry, he'll be back. Not a big deal.
Over and over
you-
again.
Did you like to think there was some kind of control? No, this is just inevitable, and just like and the more sequels, the more like I mean, time travel is such a loose thread that you don't want pulled. You don't want pulled. You don't want
Yeah.
people to ask questions because it
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense. And the more movies that would come out, it's like, wait, what? What? I don't know. None of this. Ah, come on, it doesn't make any sense. And it just was. And they recast John Connor because Edward Furlong and substance abuse and things like that. And the third one was bad. And it which and but compared to what came after, the third one's like high art cinema. Which is sad because it was real bad. But man, it bums me out because Terminator 2 is so good.
Mhm.
There's generations of kids and people in the world now that grew up and saw the newer Terminators, maybe even before the old ones, or just look at the franchise as a joke because of the new ones. Schwarzenegger
Yeah.
wouldn't sign on to do a third one because James Cameron wasn't going to do it. And then eventually there's you can read about it, quotes where Cameron just told Schwarzenegger, take the money, run. And that's what he did. He took a bag, and I don't blame Schwartzy. He took a bag. I would take a bag. You want to cast me in a new Terminator film and throw a bag of money at me? I will do it. I have no principles. I will sell out. I will be the Terminator. It won't make any sense. I'm John Connor, but I'm also Terminator. I'm going back in time to kill myself. Give me a bag of money.
Oh, Charlie, this is such a good pick. Because
Yeah,
this
it's
is
a really good pick.
This is like you got it spot on, man. Terminator 2 is such a good movie, and all the sequels have really, really hurt this franchise. Where this franchise it's almost a joke now. with
Yeah.
How many unnecessary sequels have come out? This is a real. I probably should have.
Yeah. I agree, bro. What are you thinking?
Yeah, come on, bro.
Jeez.
Oh,
Unbelievable, bro. Unbelievable.
Your one better have some juice.
Yeah.
does.
What's
All
your
right,
one,
Tudong. I guessed your number one, and didn't put a movie on my list because I figured it would be. So I hope I'm right.
Are we guessing on Dylan? I got to guess.
Let's hear it.
Is it going to be Jaws or Jaws 2?
Oh, Jaws 2. You were correct the first time. It is my number one. It is Jaws.
What?
Bro,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
What do you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be Matrix.
I was thinking about it, but let me tell you, Jaws has the more unnecessary sequels. And trust me when I say that the Matrix sequels do pull down the original. But it is very tough for me to put The Matrix ahead of Jaws because Jaws is just like a perfect movie. It's scary.
You love your Jaws.
I love
Yeah, he
my
does. Yeah, he
Jaws. I
does.
do. You've got Spielberg at his best. He is sitting there with animatronic like sharks that don't work. So what did he do? He created he was like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. We're not gonna show it. That's what we'll do. We will make it so that nobody sees it until maybe around the end when we get things going. Let's keep going. Come on, quick. We don't have time. And I love that he did that. That right there shows me what a genius is, because he takes what he has and he has nothing. He's got trash, except I guess he's got a good script, but he has like all of these different kinds of shots, all these different kinds of ideas, and he can't pull them off because he doesn't have the technology. So he does what he can with it, and he created a masterpiece, something that scares people and me to this day. I am not somebody who hates sharks. I don't want to be really around them. I don't need to be around them in order to appreciate them. They have their place in the world. It's great. I think we should be all separated. That's fine. I don't want to be around a shark. They don't want to eat us. We don't get eaten by them. It's great. But this, I'll go into a swimming pool and just be like, yeah. Like, I don't want to get eaten. I really don't. Not by this big behemoth beast. And this thing is bigger than any shark that was ever found. And it is terrifying. The acting is excellent. The cast is excellent. Everything, the writing, the directing is unbelievable. It's some of the best directing, I think, out there, because I love, this is why I prefer like the first Godfather to the second. Not that I don't love the second, but Francis Ford Coppola, he had to make lemonade out of lemons. And that's what Spielberg did right here. Every other sequel did not do that. They didn't have Spielberg back.
You didn't like Jaws: The Revenge, where the tagline is Chief Brody's widow believes that her family is deliberately being targeted by another shark in search of revenge?
Now,
you didn't like that movie?
I didn't say I didn't like it. Now, therein lies the myth. That's great. And you've got Michael Caine, who is just like, I haven't even watched this movie. I don't care. There's a shark in this movie? What? I think it's fantastic. Every single sequel does have something that's fun to watch. But you don't have to watch the first. In fact, you shouldn't watch the first Jaws altered. You should watch it perfectly sober, because it is a masterpiece. It is a classic. And the other ones really aren't. And when they say, oh, the shark still looks fake, like in Back to the Future 2, sure. In the first one, it didn't look great. But in the others, it looked really terrible. Each time it looked worse and worse. How do you make technology go from better to worse? And they figured out the way. Each different sequel got worse and worse.
Worse finds a way.
There's another Spielberg movie. But my number one, because masterpiece, should not have had any other sequels.
Jaws. Good choice, Dill.
That is a good choice.
That's a good.
Okay, well then I need to give a honorable mention to Matrix, though, because I didn't put it on my list, because I figured that one of you would put that on there, because the first Matrix is great, sequels not so much.
I thought about the Matrix, but I do feel like there could have been sequels to that. They just did. I didn't feel they were executed well, but I do feel like that story wasn't necessarily over at the end of the first one.
Yes.
You know what? That's a really good point.
I can get behind more.
That's a really good point. They just weren't good sequels. I don't know that they weren't.
The first one didn't end like completely, like the first Jaws, the shark's dead, like with the first Matrix, though, it's kind of like, all right, now we're just beginning. I'm going to show you a new world in order to, and all these other things. And we're like curious to see what's going to happen. And they didn't stick the landing. So, that's an excellent honorable mention, bro.
All right.
Good
honorable mention. That's not my number one. My number one actually just hinted at.
Oh, excellent choice, bro.
What is it, Charlie?
Because you're talking about when I said life finds a way, right? Are we talking little Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park. I mean, if we're talking about like perfect movies, the first Jurassic Park is so good. It holds up today. Such a good movie. The stuff that they did at the time was amazing. I still enjoy watching this movie. I love it. I love the cast. I love dinosaurs. Everything. And every movie that comes out, including the Jurassic World stuff, which Jurassic World 1 was probably the best of that like series, but even then like it just wasn't
Not
needed
saying
and
much.
it just I don't know, it dragged out this like franchise of mediocre movies besides the first one, which is so sad because the first Jurassic Park is so amazing. I remember
Yeah.
watching Jurassic Park 2 in theaters and being disappointed even as a junior
Mhm.
higher. I remember watching Jurassic Park 3, and I was like, they're just
Mhm.
not as good. And then they do this little reboot and we get Jurassic Worlds and those just haven't been great. And but then I go back to Jurassic Park and I'm like, this could have been just a
Mhm.
standalone movie where we get Jurassic Park, they say, "Hey, this is a bad idea. Let's escape this island." And then they just leave the island. They could have just left it be. It didn't need a sequel. They didn't need to go back. They didn't need to bring dinosaurs to it could have just been left at Jurassic Park. And we all could have theorized and they could have been fun what if theories. They didn't need to make movies. And it's so sad because like I see this poster, I think of the music, I think of the scenes, I think of
Ah,
Mhm.
everything,
Mhm.
and I'm like, it's such a good movie. But unfortunately, it's stuck with these doggone sequels that just don't live up to Jurassic Park. So this was my number one. I had to put
N- It's funny because this also, like I said, they didn't bring Spielberg back for Jaws 2, but they did bring Spielberg back for Jurassic Park 2. And maybe it was a good thing he didn't do Jaws 2. Because sheesh,
man, Jurassic Park 3. Oh boy.
that was bad. It was so bad.
bad. And I just watched like the recent Dominion one. Care for that, It's just
Ugh.
they just keep making more. I'm sure they'll make more, even though it makes sense. They continue to make
Why
money,
not?
and I just want Jurassic Park to be its own standalone.
You didn't. Actually, there's going to be a new trilogy called Jurassic Universe. So it's coming.
What should they do?
We're
They
gonna
they in order to
they're
get
gonna
rid of
freeze
the
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs, they have to
They
send them
could
to the moon.
I
That's
think
right.
I think we all know where it's going. Dinos in space.
Dinos
It's
in
gotta
space.
happen.
It's gotta.
Little T Rex with like a little space helmet on. Come on, I'd watch that. Little arms floating out there in space. Come on,
No, no, they should have
I'd
just
watch
been a
that.
standalone movie. That's all that should have been was a standalone movie. Have been all right, but there's my number one.
It's good number one. Strong choice.
You guys have anything else to add to this?
Good picks, guys.
Great
You
picks.
too.
Great picks
Yeah,
from
very
all of
good
you.
picks.
Well
You
done.
guys too. Well done. Well done. We're very proud of
Well,
ourselves.
hopefully, if you're still watching this, you also think good picks. And maybe there's some movies that you can think of that you just did not enjoy the sequels, or you think maybe tarnished the first movie a little bit. Let us know. Maybe there's some other large fandoms we can offend today. So hit us up in the comments and tell us why they should have stopped after one Harry Potter movie, or why they
Oh
should have never made
gosh.
any more Star Treks. Or
Oh,
let us know. One Lord of the Rings movie was enough. Why do they make those other two? I don't know. So, but for more content like this, make sure you click on some videos below and hit that like and subscribe below that gorgeous beard over there. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.